let's flip it to the other side of the ball. When the Rams have the football, the young phenom, Sean McVay, against Bill Belichick and the Patriots defense, and Brian Flores, who's not the defensive coordinator, but he probably calls the plays. What are we looking for here when the Rams have the football?
The biggest thing to me is just Jared Goff. Because that first quarter against the Saints, the moment looked too big for him. He was just so rattled.
He jittery in the pocket and everything.
But then down the stretch, he was calm, made some great throws under pressure, some really important plays that basically he outplayed Drew Brees. This is why they won that game down the stretch. So can he play like that the entire game? Because I think they're going to need that. Need him to play with poise, play confidently the entire game. You can't come out flat. The Patriots come out flat. They've only scored 3 points in all their Super Bowls. That really doesn't impact this Super Bowl. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just a random stat.
So it's incredible, though. The Patriots have scored 3 points in the first quarter in 8 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't mean anything for this week.
That's what I'm saying.
But it is an interesting trend that they've, and last year was the first points that they ever scored.
But I just think he has to come out playing that way from the start for them to have chances.
You can't give away possessions. Essentially, if you look at the Patriots-Chiefs game, not that the Chiefs gave away possessions, but they lost their first few offensive possessions. The Patriots won them. And then, if you give Mahomes enough chances, they're going to find ways to score points. But if you go back, if they just had one better drive in the first quarter or second quarter, that's a completely different game.
That is the biggest thing about this. These are 2 ball control offenses. This is going to be a game where there probably aren't that many possessions because both teams like to control the clock, like to run the clock, like to run the ball and have high completion percentage offenses. At that point, if you only have a handful of possessions, one bounce one way or the other, one bad possession really puts you behind the 8 ball because it's not going to be a long game.
So that was one of the things I've been thinking about this week. Do both teams, because we know that the games are won through the pass game, right? Do both teams, who are pretty smart, do they just come out and do they invite the other team to run?
Ooh.
Right? So because we've seen this happen with the Rams down the stretch too, where teams, their offense is what we call cover 1, cover 3 killers. And a lot of their route combinations, when you have a single high free safety, right? So they run the ball enough that you bring the safety up into the box, you run play action off of it, and all your concepts beat those single high looks. When they struggled down the stretch, it was a lot of 2 high looks where teams said, okay, we're just going to try to defend the run with seven guys in the box. Now, there were times where the Rams ran the ball successfully against that. There were times where they didn't. Against the Cowboys a couple weeks ago, they did. Do the Patriots come out and say, okay, just go ahead, run the ball. Try to run the ball. We'll trust our defensive line to try to win blocks. And do the Rams do the same thing? Do they come out and say, okay, we could have Tom Brady beat us, or we could have Sony Michel beat us. Go get him, Sony. Go ahead and try to run the ball against us. And if they do that, that really compresses and shortens the game. And if they shorten the game, I think it's to the Rams' advantage with fewer possessions.
I think if you're the Rams, you're more likely to say, hey, Patriots, run the ball on us. If you're the Patriots, though, you don't have – because the Rams have playmakers. The Rams have Aaron Donald, Ndamukong Suh. They can shut down a run like that on their own. Patriots don't necessarily have that. If they go light boxes – this Rams offense was the most prolific rushing offense in the NFL this season. They had the most expected points added through their run game than any other team. They had more than any other team this season, was by far the best rushing offense in the NFL. They can go the whole length of the field on you, running that wide zone play every time if you have a light box, if you're not putting your resources into that run defense. So I do think it would behoove them not to say sell out versus the run with linebackers, but put your resources up at the line of scrimmage at least.
So the Patriots also play more man coverage than anyone else too. So I think either way,
it's going to be single high. Yeah.
So that's going to be the tough part for the Rams offense. We say it every week on here. When you play man coverage, completion percentage is generally lower. Patriots allowing the lowest completion percentage when they play man, but you can give up some big plays. So now we're talking about Stephon Gilmore, Brandon Cooks matchups. J.C. Jackson and Jason McCourty going up against Robert Woods. However, those end up becoming some really important matchups.
Do you think it's going to be? Let's talk about that. You think it's going to be Gilmore guards Cooks?
I don't initially. Okay. There might be some. I do think they'll go to more what they usually do. So Gilmore Woods probably.
Gilmore Woods, okay, yeah.
And then you got Cooks with safety help. Yeah. I think when Belichick's taking on the super speed receiver,
yes, that's what they did number against 2 corner.
Yeah. Yes, and that's what they did against Tyreek. So they doubled Tyreek Hill, because we just started tracking this the last couple of years, on about half of Kansas City's dropbacks. Straight up doubled him. We call it cover 1 double, where there's 2 extra defenders. There's man coverage across the board. There's 2 extra defenders. The extra defender, instead of playing a zone or playing a certain deep zone, whatever, he just track to Tyreek Hill.
It, yeah.
Half the times. So I could see them doing that against Brandon Cooks. Just take away the deep threat. Don't give up big plays. Stephon Gilmore, our top-graded corner during the regular season, go up against Robert Woods, who is a very good wide receiver as far as running routes goes.
But he can handle his own there. You're not You're not worried about a Marcus Peters, Michael Thomas situation at that point.
Yeah, Woods probably isn't going to torch Gilmore. He might win a few.
Yeah.
But I think they're more scared of Cooks. And then, the Patriots on paper, the Patriots don't have great personnel to slow down tight ends. Patrick Chung is good, not great. The linebackers, if you have to put them on tight ends, it's not usually great. But they did a really nice job on Travis Kelce, and they have slowed down tight ends when they've needed to.
Here's the thing I also want to watch is the pass rushing, because the Patriots against the Chiefs, they knew they were not going to be able to pressure Patrick Mahomes rushing 4. They just knew, Chiefs' offensive line is fairly good. They really don't have many skilled pass rushers outside of Trey Flowers. Really just no one has produced. This season, they blitzed almost half the snaps against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Do you foresee that being the case here? Because Rams have an even better offensive line than the Chiefs, even better in pass protection. I really don't foresee them really getting any pressure at all. If you just do straight drop-back passing game, they don't have to use play action to slow down these pass rushers. Do you foresee them blitzing yet again like that, playing a similar game plan that we just saw last week?
I think they picked their spots because I think part of blitzing a Mahomes is you take away his lanes for scrambling, right?
Yes.
You have extra guys. You make sure you're playing contain on the outside. You keep him in the pocket, which was maybe the lesser of two evils against Mahomes. I think with Goff, you're not worried about him breaking the pocket, despite him making a few nice plays outside the pocket against the Saints. I think it's more pick your spots with the blitzes. And that's one thing the New England Patriots have done better this year than maybe with Matt Patricia. They've zero blitzed more than any team in the league, meaning bringing the house with no safety help. They were not doing that in previous years. So you'll see a little bit of it, but I don't think you'll see 50%. 50% is a really, really high rate.
Yeah, that was.
And this is where it comes down to Goff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look,
that's why I'm saying that's the biggest thing to me is just how comfortable he is from the start.
If you look at New England in previous Super Bowls, they faced Nick Foles last year, who was just incredible. The previous year, Matt Ryan was excellent outside of the fumble, which, tough to say if that's even on him. Missed a couple throws down the stretch, but he made some huge plays. We've seen Eli Manning torch them multiple times. Russell Wilson played a great game against them a few years ago. I mean, they've gone up against...
I'm trying to make excuses for Brady, but
no, I'm saying that there's a lot of they've had they've had some good quarterbacks become exceptional, and they've had very good quarterbacks have very, very good games against them. So Goff needs to have another one of those to have a good competitive game.
I agree.
We haven't even talked about Todd Gurley yet.
Oh, MVP. He can't drop 2 passes in this one.
He probably can't.
That would be detrimental. I do think that is a good matchup for the Rams. Using him as a receiver. And I was in the run game, him versus CJ is whatever, a wash my take in terms of the effectiveness. But as a receiver, the Pats linebackers they're not exceptional coverage. They're just not that athletic. I think matching them one-on-one when you get that, because if you are playing man coverage, that to me is the matchup that they do have that's the obvious win for the Rams.
I would watch out for the screen game as well, because when you're playing man coverage, what happens in the screen game, the linebackers have to get out in front. And if they just get a piece of the man that's covering Gurley, then he's got room to run. And
it's a boomer bust against man coverage.
It is.
That play gets blown up because he reads it, or it's
So it's going to be very much on. It's Andrew Whitworth in space, and it's those Rams offensive linemen. If those guys can go just get a Dante Hightower and a linebacker and just get a piece of them, Gurley might have some room to run in the screen game. We saw at Kansas City with an easy screen pass. I think it was a touchdown. Easy touchdown for Mahomes when they caught them in the right look. So I'm fascinated to see McVay. McVay is lauded as a very good in-game adjuster. Obviously, the Patriots adjust a ton in-game. That's one of Belichick's known strengths. So that cat and mouse game, I think the coaching on both sides of the ball is just fantastic.
Yes, it is. And it's the best part is it's McVay's strength, offense, Belichick, defense. It is, two of the best. McVay, at this point, has been one of the most creative offensive minds probably in NFL history in terms of how much he's advanced this Rams scheme to it's not incredibly unique. It's just unique in terms of, because unique's already, never mind.
I got you, Mike. I got you.
All right.
They're using all sorts of jet motion and different things to just open up.
They stay in 11 personnel all the time, except for teams just can't figure it out because there's, with the play action, there's just so much they throw at you that is very much McVay's. He has a very defined scheme, and so that cat and mouse, like you said, that cat and mouse, that sort of matchup is going to be very interesting. Who figures out whom?
Good offenses just have an answer for everything. Peyton Manning's offenses back in the day ran 2 personnel groups. That was it. They'd have 3 wide receivers or 2 tight ends. That was it. They ran a handful of formations, but they just had an answer for everything. If you show this, we run that. You show that, we run this. I mean, so that's essentially what McVay does, right?
Yeah.
Simple formations in general, simple personnel groupings, but try to do what you're not covering. I don't know if you have this in your stats to know, but in general stat that you need to know, Brady and Goff have faced the lowest pressure percentage in the playoffs among all quarterbacks. Brady's at only 15.6%.
I did. The Patriots offensive line has allowed basically similar, only 12 pressures all postseason.
Okay, so we'll get to the stats. We'll discuss them as we go. So there you go. So when the Rams have the ball, great cat and mouse game, both sides of the ball. This is going to be a good game. I'm talking myself into this is going to be a very good game.
I believe so.
Yeah?
I
think
do.
It'll be a good one?